all of these years, presidents representing the United States have declined to officially recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In fact, we have declined to acknowledge any Israeli capital at all. But today we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital.
Hello, I'm Bruce Johnson, and welcome to Off Script. Got a lot to talk about tonight. President Donald Trump has recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. He's ordered the relocation of the U.S. Embassy to that city. It's now in Tel Aviv. The decision reverses years of U.S. policy. The concern tonight is, what does this mean to the Israeli-Palestinian peace process? And could the president's decision spark violence in the region?
I also want to make one point very clear. This decision is not intended in any way to reflect a departure from our strong commitment to facilitate a lasting peace agreement. The United States remains deeply committed to helping facilitate a peace agreement that is acceptable to both sides. I intend to do everything in my power to help forge such an agreement.
Joining me right now is Dr. Osama Abu Irshad, president of American Muslims for Palestine, and Richard Heidemann, president of the American Zionist Movement. Gentlemen, let's go back and explain to people who really don't know, why is Jerusalem so important to all these groups of people? Let's start with you.
Jerusalem, Bruce, has been the crossroads of the world. Indeed, if you walk through the old city of Jerusalem, you'll walk through the quarters of the Christian quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Armenian quarter, and the Jewish quarter. Thousands of years of history. The Jewish people literally have been in this land for millennia. And what the president did today is recognize the ancient, ancestral, indigenous rights of the Jewish people to be in Jerusalem and to declare Jerusalem as the capital of its own state, like the United States recognizes the capital of every other state, every other city that every nation selects for itself.
Dr. Shah, why is this so important to the Palestinians?
Well, what Richard left out from his argument is that the Palestinians, the Arabs, existed in Palestine, in Jerusalem, way long before the Jews migrated to Palestine. In fact, the Old Testament calls it the land of Canaan, and it calls them the Philistines. So we've been there before, and this is not an issue about, not an argument about who was there before. We have been continuously there for millennia now. And the issue is Palestine, East Jerusalem, are occupied territories under the international law.
A question to both of you. Where is the peace process after the president made his declaration today? And is the area any more safe or more violent or volatile as a result of what the president has done?
The president's bold leadership is bringing the peace process to fruition. It has been stagnant, Bruce, for the longest period of time. Mahmoud Abbas has refused to negotiate. The Palestinian Authority has been rejectionist, has been obstructionist, and hopefully the president's leadership, working with both sides, will bring everybody back to the table so that there can be a resolution of the core issues.
But I think the head of the Palestinian negotiating team says the U.S. has no role in negotiations at this point because of what the president did. You want to pick that up?
Yeah, well, since the Trump administration came, there is no serious negotiations. But also we have to bring back the facts. The facts that the international resolutions, the international law says the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem is part of the West Bank, are occupied territories, according to 242 international resolution, and according to the latest UN Security Council resolution that the Obama administration abstained from vetoing. It's 2334 that the Trump transitional team tried to sabotage. So now we're talking about an occupied land, and they want us to negotiate what is under occupation.
Let me ask you this question. The president says that the U.S. embassy is going to come out of Tel Aviv and eventually go into Jerusalem. Does it go into West Jerusalem? Where does it go? And did the president's declaration today, did it cover all of Jerusalem, or was he talking just West Jerusalem?
The president used the words Jerusalem. When you think about Jerusalem, you can think about even Hadassah Hospital, where when children, like my own grandchildren, have been born, their birth certificates, their U.S. passports only say Jerusalem. They haven't said until today, Jerusalem, Israel. The importance of the president's declaration and directive to the State Department is to see to it that, like every other nation in the world, Israel is now treated equally, because Israel has determined for ages that Jerusalem is its capital. When the United Nations approved Israel as a nation state in 1949, following the 1948 Declaration of Independence and the 1947 Partition Resolution, the United Nations recognized that Israel is a sovereign nation. It's a member state of the United Nations, and that includes all of the area that we're talking about.
Does that include East Jerusalem?
It does not. And the latest UN Security Council Resolution 2334, just back in December 2016, defined the occupied territories to include the entire land that was occupied after June 5th, 1967. The U.S. position is that it is a disputed territory. Now this administration is recklessly departing from this
The United
position.
States did not vote in favor of that resolution.
It did not veto it too.
It didn't vote in favor.
But it passed the UN resolution, right? It passed the UN Security Council. Didn't it pass?
It literally means nothing.
Can either of you gentlemen?
So we invaded.
Just like UNESCO said. Just like UNESCO says.
So it's okay to invade Iraq. It's okay to invade Iraq because it violated international resolutions, and we cannot say to Israel that you are violating the international law.
I think I know the answer.
About Iraq.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about adhering to the international law.
Gentlemen, I think I know where we're going from here in terms of an answer. Where do the peace talks go from here? Do we jumpstart the peace talks, or can we forget about any peace talks at this point?
Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his speech in 2009 at Bar-Ilan University, made it very clear that he, as the Prime Minister of the people of Israel, was prepared to sit at the negotiating table and reach an agreement, just like he did in the Wye River Accords with President Clinton.
Has the president killed any chances of a peace?
Not at all.
Yes, he did. What we're offered is a moral sovereignty. What we're offered is 40% of the West Bank. What we're offered is a state without Jerusalem. What we're offered is a state that is not contiguous. That's what we're being offered. And refugees like myself don't have the right for return. It's a non-starter.
The Oslo Accords envisioned that the parties would have certain final status negotiations. It's time for the Palestinians to come to a table like this, sit, and let's debate.
No, it's time for Israel. It's time for Israel to implement, to live by the international law and international resolutions.
Certainly no agreement tonight, and I don't think that's surprising to anybody. Thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Let's continue this conversation.
Thank you.
Let's move on.